This is the Shed End View podcast. Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to another video version of the Shed End View podcast with myself, Gareth McCullough.
And Ali McKenzie.
And as you see on screen, our special guest this week is none other than, I suppose we can still call you a new signing, Mark. Mark Kelly. Welcome, Mark.
How are you doing, lads?
How's it going?
Before we get into nitty-gritty and get a good chat with Mark, obviously we have to start on a bit of a sad note. We're recording this on Easter Tuesday evening. Unfortunately, it's been announced the sad passing of Mark Hughes, our club captain. His grandfather, Jerry, sadly passed away. He also obviously grandfather of former Newry players Stephen Hughes, Daniel Hughes and TJ Hughes. He was a big Newry supporter, both Newry Town and Newry City. So everybody pass on the condolences to the Hughes family at the sad time, and hopefully we'll see Hughesy and all the family down the club team whenever we get back going again. But moving swiftly on, more positive matters. Mark, I suppose, what have you been getting up to? This is what we seem to be asking everybody now that when that come on. How has everybody been filling their time?
How do you pass your day?
Well, probably similar to most people, and what I do is a bit of schoolwork in the morning. With being a primary teacher, we are putting lessons online every day, and then a bit of training, and my ma's making me do a bit of housework and do a bit of work in the garden and stuff like that there. I
suppose it's, as was said to probably the Engine and Darren last week, it's a completely unique time, so nobody's really had I don't remember ever being sort of told you had to stay indoors, and it's always the way, if you're told to do something by somebody, you tend to do the opposite. But most people have a bit of common sense around here. I mean, is it important to get some structure to your day, to make sure you're sort of doing something?
Okay, I suppose everyone's different, but I'm trying to keep it as structured as possible. So, trying to do it like a normal school day. So, being ready for classes such at 9 o'clock, have a bite of breakfast beforehand, stop at 10:30.
Home with your feet up at 3.
I knew that was coming. And stop again for lunch. Most of the time the work's sort of done, I suppose, by 12 o'clock, and then you're just keeping your emails open the rest of the day to sort of reply to any queries or any difficulties in the work, stuff like that, I suppose.
So you said you're training from home there, Mark. I know that Darren is sending through videos quite regularly to the players as well, just to give them a little bit extra motivation. I find it difficult getting motivated when I'm at home to go out and train myself. How do you find it as someone who presumably has to train more or less 4 days a week?
Again, I suppose it's that sort of structure, and instead of training 4 days a week now, just because there's not really much else to do, you're kind of doing a wee bit every day. So some weights some days, other times out for maybe a bit of a longer run, and then just kicking football about the garden. I'm lucky my girlfriend's here, and she plays a bit of football, so get a bit of time to kick about with her, which is handy,
So the obvious question is then, who's better?
Different positions, but I would say, what? I would say probably her, which wouldn't be hard,
What position does she play?
She is a central defender or centre midfielder.
So, do you ever do any, and I don't take this the wrong way, do you ever do any one-on-ones in terms of is she going, right, well, she come up against a big physical centre forward, does she try and, chop you in half or anything,
Kick the legs. No, none of that sort of crack, just kicking, just knocking the ball about or keeping the ball up, or just to pass a few hours or whatever,
Do you think she'll be free from the summer onwards? Because we could be looking for a big centre half that we could put in there.
Look, she's still another year. She's over in Cardiff University, so she's playing for the college team and training a wee bit.
Brilliant.
With the club team. So she'll not be available for another while yet.
After we'll get her signed a pre-contract then, for the season after next. I suppose, obviously you're our would say apart from yourself and Brian Cabrali would be our two most recent signings. I mean, you can't really count Decky in that. There was Decky's just away wandering for about 6 or 8 months, and then he just decided to come back. Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of the way you look at it. Like, yes, Decky doesn't feel like a new signing. As I suppose as somebody like yourself that's new into the club, you're a new face around the club. I mean, and feel free to be 100% honest in your answer here. How have you found it in the very brief time that you've been at the Showgrounds?
Oh, no, I've really enjoyed it. I think I played. It was the end of December. There was a friendly game down at the Showgrounds, so I went down and played in that. And I don't think there were definitely a few missing. I think Andy was away on his honeymoon. There was a couple of other senior players were missing, but I got to meet a good few of them. And then from that day of signing, I was up the next week then for training, and everyone made me feel really welcome, players and staff and any of the supporters sort of I met around the club. So no, I've been made feel really welcome, which is always an important factor, you know. So no, it's really been good. Really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, Mark, I just wanted to ask you there. Obviously, when you sign for a club in the summer, you have those summer months for the friendlies, you know, for the training, get to know the boys. When you sign in January, presumably we're signing you to throw you into the deep end to get scoring goals. What was it like dealing with that pressure, actually coming in January and that being lumped at you and instantly being thrown into it?
But I didn't really see it as much as pressure, in a sense that there's loads of goals in the team there. Big Foley scored a rake of goals. Mark McCabe has a load of goals, and then you've got loads of boys around the team like Engine chips in with goals, and Hughesy, and now Decky's there. Decky chips in with goals. John McGovern, I think, scored a few goals too, and even Scaffin Lavery as well. You know, from previous years, he's always sort of seemed to score goals wherever he's went. So I didn't feel an awful amount of pressure, to be honest. I was just looking forward to going in and playing with all those lads I've mentioned.
I mean, from speaking to Darren in the past, I remember when Darren sort of mentioned that you were signing, and it was like, you're a name that, you know, obviously most Irish League supporters would know. And I remember you playing for Ards against us, and I remember you playing for Ballyclare against us as well. It was something Darren sort of intimated to me whenever I was interviewing him for the paper, that he had been after you sort of for a while. Had there been previous contact, you know, sort of before he actually signed?
Yes, just this past summer there, just after the season had finished. So obviously Newry and Ards both went down. So just after that had happened, as Darren contacted me. So yes, I spoke with Darren, and my only little reservation at the time was the sort of travelling aspect of it, you know, and getting up and down from Antrim to train and matches. So that was a reservation with it, and with that, I had spoken to Carrick Rangers, so I just was decided on signing with Carrick. Now I still, part of me regretted it a wee bit as soon as it had happened, only because I know having played against Newry so often how good a team they are, and there seems to be that sort of real togetherness with us. Any of the times I've played against them, you know, there's a real togetherness. So I actually thought it was a missed opportunity after I had signed with the other team. So when he contacted me then in December, I was delighted, you know, and then just looking forward then to getting signed up and started.
I mean, you said that you're up in Antrim. Presumably, there's not too many Newry fans knocking about Antrim, is there?
Actually, there's one. Maybe there may be more than one, but there's one. A guy. He's originally from Newry, and I think he was in his 40s when he moved up to Antrim. So his name's Archie Ban. He was a local postman, and he would have been, you know, around our streets and that. And he used to always wind me up when I was kicking a football, that he was always saying, "You should be playing with Newry," and Newry Town it was then. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be playing with Newry and all this kind of crack. So when I came back, I was over studying in Liverpool. When I came back, I just signed with Ballyclare. They're the closest sort of team to me. So signed with Ballyclare and paid Newry, I think, 4 times that year, and Newry beat us all 4. No, we drew the first one. Sorry, we drew the first. And Newry won the rest. So he was given
against us, though.
What?
You definitely scored against us, though, didn't you?
I scored. Did I score at Ballyclare? The first one, I was suspended and I got sent off the week before. The second one in the Showgrounds, I got
injured.
Injured with my hamstring very early on. The third one, we were beat. What was the third one? No, the third one, I think Newry beat us 3-0 up in Ballyclare. Aye, they did. So I've had a bit of crack with Archie about it, and then obviously when I signed there in January, he was round. He was having a bit of crack and chatting away about it. So no, it's good. It's good that there's a Newry City connection in the hometown. You know.
Does he give you if since you've signed, if there's been there haven't been too many defeats to be fair since you've signed, but say after what was it, the Lockall game we got beaten, was he banging on the door giving you a bit of stick saying what he got?
The first one was that we played the Welders on a Friday night game, if you remember.
Yes.
And they had a couple of chances towards the end, but we had sort of more before that. I hit the post in the first half and I had a header in the second, which I should have scored. And I actually gave him a lift home that night. He was in the social club, and I gave him a lift up the road and Antrim. And the first thing he said to me when I got into the car was, "How did you miss that header?" So,
did you hit the crossbar with that one, or?
No, I hit the post with a shot in the first half, and
that's right.
The header was over the crossbar. It was over the top.
I mean, it must be difficult for you. Obviously, you've just come in and you've got to run. You've actually come in at the perfect time because we went on that amazing run there of 9 games. Was it 9? 9 games undefeated. But is it frustrating now with the season being cut short that you kind of feel like just as you were hitting your stride, you were kind of stopped completely?
Okay, it is. I suppose it is for everybody. It was good getting back playing and playing games and getting that match sharpness back. But no, it's frustrating. Of course, you want to. I think there was still a slight outside chance. We still had to play Ballymallard again, Lockall. We could. I'm not saying it would have happened, but there's still an opportunity to run them closer or to take it as close to the end of the season as possible. So, yeah, it's frustrating, surely.
I mean, looking at if we can touch on your past sort of career before you came in, Newry. Obviously, you touched on that you were briefly at Carrick, earlier on this season, and it just didn't work out. But Ards, firstly, you were at Ards last season. I suppose one of the most famous things that people will mention about last season, obviously Ards and Newry both got relegated, but still pulled out some, standout results over the course of the season, even during the relegation. I know one was obviously Ards beating Linfield at the Bangor Fields Arena, and somebody scored. And look who it is. You scored twice this game, didn't you? Yeah. And I mean,
it's a great photo.
Yeah, I would love to know what Josh Robinson's doing. 1, he's handling the ball. 2, he looks like he's giving you a hug. And 3, he's looking in the midair. So you have him completely flummoxed every way, all over the place. I mean, run us through that game, because I know you scored a cracker cutting in from the right hand side and sliding the ball in. I mean, run us through that sort of game, because it was a massive result for Ards at the time. It was a big sort of shock result in the terms of the league.
It was a bit of a surreal day now. But even in the build up that week to the game, we, Colin Nixon, who was the manager at the time, it's sort of a cliche, but he was full of belief. And we had played Linfield, I think, 5 or 6 weeks previous and drawn with them at Windsor Park 0-0. And they had plenty of the ball, but we had a couple of chances where we broke away, and it was maybe that final pass. So the chat that week was that we were going to get chances again, and that if we kept it tight, that we would get maybe 1 or 2 opportunities. So, getting to play against a team like Linfield and not score once but score twice and beat them, it was incredible. It'll not. I can't see it ever really happening again, but it was an incredible day.
Well, whenever we go on to next season, once the season finishes and we go on our amazing run and everybody falls apart and we get promoted in the playoff and then we win the Premiership next season, beating Linfield, that it will happen, Mark. Just it's belief. It's a cliche again, but it's belief. It will happen. I mean, obviously one of your former clubs we've touched on there when you played for Ballyclare against us. That's probably, I suppose, in the most recent times. Obviously, there's hours in between, but most Newry supporters will probably remember you from playing for Ballyclare and being prolific at Ballyclare against us. But prior to that, 2014, I think it was, Irish Cup semi-final, Ballymena United against who did you beat that day?
That was
Queen.
That was Queen.
So I mean, there's a big smiley face, which we've seen a couple of times already in a Newry shirt. I mean, obviously the other scorer that day, Alan Davison, an ex-Newry player, I think he scored twice that day as well.
Great.
Oh yeah, Alan's from he's based in Warren Point, and he's from Newry, and he played for Newry for I think he scored a hat trick on Sky, actually. Would be Portadown 4-2 a few years ago. Alan, a fantastic footballer, a complete lunatic.
Deadly player.
But I mean, to score an Irish Cup semi-final as well. I mean, what was that like? And then obviously final. Did we in the squad? Did you come on the final?
No, it wasn't. Didn't.
Touchy subject.
I'm not a wee bit now.
Okay, let's focus on the positive. Let's go back to the semi-final. Irish Cup semi-final, big happy face. Let's just focus on the happy bits. I mean, what was it like to score the third goal and knowing that you put your team through an Irish Cup final?
That was deadly. Again, it was one of those ones where it was a surreal day. But in the build-up, I had only signed with Ballymena a couple of months before. I'd just come back from the States, and I went in and did a bit of training and then signed and played a lot with reserves and got a few opportunities in the first team, and I wasn't even really expecting to be in the squad, and I got a text on the Friday evening saying to bring my gear to the Oval. So getting on the bench then was deadly, and getting, I think I got 10 minutes at the end of the game, so even getting to get a run out was class, and then being in the right place at the right time to score a goal, brilliant, really, really good.
I mean, you touched on it there, from a striker's perspective. I mean, right place at the right time. I mean, you can have different types of strikers. That's, somebody likes to drop deep and pick up the ball and run at defenders. Somebody likes to play, it was back to goal, or somebody likes to play on the edge of the box. I mean, if you're speaking to somebody, maybe somebody that's watching this or listening to this, who's a young footballer and is aspiring to be and wants to be, let's be honest, any lad that wants to be a footballer growing up generally wants to be the person sticking the ball in the back of the net, because it's you boys get all the glory, you know what I mean? It's not like when I played, where I was a cracking holding midfielder that ran about 4 yards,
cracking
bed ball here and there. We never get.
His knees were cracking. That was about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, generally people want to be, you want to be strikers. I mean, if you had to give one tip, if you had to pick one tip out from the experiences you've had throughout your career to give to somebody, whether it's to work on something or how their mentality should be, what would it be?
I suppose it would be try and stay as consistent as you possibly can. So don't let yourself get too high and don't let yourself get too low. And I mean that in a sense of, like, you could go a couple of weeks or a couple of games without scoring a goal, but you could be doing loads of things right for the team. I used to hate it, or still do, suppose hate it. When you come back and you say, "How did you get on today?" We won maybe 2 or 3 now, and then the next question you always get is, "Did you score?" or "How many did you score?" And when you're not part of that, people think, I suppose a lot of maybe more non-football people think, "Oh, see, man's rubbish," but you can still affect the game or be important to the team without scoring. That's my excuse whenever I don't score in a game. I always say that's my.
I think you've done that really well since you've come in, Mark. Like, you've scored 2 goals so far, the 2 against Knockbreda, but you've done things that other strikers just haven't been able to do the past little while for us. Like, really be that figure up front, hold the ball up, be that strong central figure that we really needed. Probably since Mully, we haven't had that strong striker that could just hold that ball up. You know, Mark's a great finisher and has different attributes to yourself, but you bring people into the game a lot more. You know, I've noticed that particularly in Dundela, which was a very, very tough game, that 0-0 down there. You know, that was physical for you, and you were up there and you got no thanks really. It was just lump the ball up to you. But that's kind of the role that you've taken on. I think you've done it really well for us so far. I mean, there's no question at the end of that. That was just a statement.
That was just a statement, Ali. That was obviously that tenner you mailed Ali before the start of this. That's where that's come in.
Yeah. Well spent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose, I you know exactly where Ali's coming from. I mean, there was that sort of presence, and I hate saying that to a player going, "Oh, you know, big man up top," or you know, physical presence, because then it sort of comes across as if, you know, it's taken away from other abilities that you have. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of unfair to lump somebody into the categorise them sort of that way. But I mean, I suppose the 2 goals obviously scored at home and away against Knockbreda. The Knockbreda home game was obviously your first goal for the club. I mean, it was relatively early in your Newry career, and I suppose you still are early in your Newry career. But how good a feeling, I suppose, was that to score? I suppose how good a feeling is it to score your first goal for any club you sign for?
Oh, it's brilliant! It really is. I think it was the league game before that was Ballymallard. Before that was Queens away to Queens. And that day I was injured in Queens, and I just got chatting. I was with someone's supporters, and I got chatting to them and things like that. And just whenever you get chatting to people and supporters, you realise how important it is to them, you know. And McCullough stuck one in the top corner after a few minutes, and you know, when you see everyone celebrating and going mad, then that's sort of what you want to be involved in, you know. And you want to.
I think I was more shocked.
Yeah.
With his left foot as well. Like he was in shock when he celebrated.
Yeah. But no, for your first goal is you know, it definitely is a pressure off your shoulders then, and then you can look forward then to try and scoring more and as many as you possibly can, you know, before the end of the season.
Are you looking forward, Mark, to once the season finishes and when it actually does finish, getting a pre-season with the club and going in fresh next year, fit and ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, provided I get a chance to sign again next year, yes, definitely. And I think it's important to. I think a full pre-season can't be underestimated, you know, and getting to play games and get your sharpness, because you can go out running and as much as you want and things like that, but the match sharpness for me is always the thing that takes a bit of time to come.
Yeah, and just to build relationships on the pitch as well, and know where people like to be, and you know they get to know the runs that you make and how that works.
Yeah, definitely. Like someone there, if you look at playing with someone like Foley there from midfield, Foley can take a set off the feet, but he can also just as effectively run in behind, you know. So things like that, and that all comes with training and with more games, you know. Yeah,
and I mean, I suppose moving on to the really intriguing bit, and I suppose you've sort of touched on it there, in terms of sort of learning about the boys in the change room, how boys play, you know, certain sort of mentalities and stuff. I mean, given that you're relatively new into the club, and as we've talked about probably in every podcast that we've done, either calling our squad a bunch of lunatics, a bunch of idiots, a bunch of head the balls. It's generally the general consensus. Like, you know, like most football squads, particularly Irish League squads, generally have their fair collection of, you know,
characters.
Yeah. We'll put it the politically correct way, characters. You've been in a few sort of a few squads and a few change rooms, you know, during your career. I mean, what's your honest take now? I'll be 100% honest, Mark. What's your honest take on the current bunch of numbskulls that we have sitting in the showgrounds?
You know, it's good. It's there's plenty of crack in the change room. I'll say that much. There's a good mix, and you know, with like experience. I mean, you look around the change room. There's loads and loads of experience. But no, there's plenty of crack. There's plenty of mad. Well, from what I can gather from like the crack in the changing room and from the WhatsApp group, and from hearing stories that have happened previous. There's plenty of madmen running about the place.
And here, Mark, obviously you're a teacher, but do you think you could earn some extracurricular cash and take a few of them to school after some training sessions? Like just put on the basics, like 20 and things. Well, you may tell me. You're the one in the changing room.
No, they're all. I don't think anyone would come into that category now.
Dubious. We'll not mention their names. They've probably mentioned this podcast a few times. The usual suspects. I mean, I suppose what we've done over the course of the podcast, and actually we did a wee thing last year where we spoke to each player individually and asked them who's the quickest, who if they were a bar of chocolate would eat themselves, who's the worst dress sense and all that sort of stuff. So we'll probably run through a few of those, and don't be afraid to. Say the first name comes into your head, but if you want to give a bit of explanation as to why, don't hold back, because trust me, if we were asking other players these and your name was potentially one of the answers, you wouldn't be spared. You know what I mean? So this is just your chance to get your retaliation in first.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
So I suppose, Ali, I have a few of them in my head, but you might have them in front of you, Ali, do you?
Yeah, so the way we've run it, Mark, is like we call it the five-a-side. So this will be your five-a-side team. And what we'll do after, we'll have fancy pictures coming up here of each player that you mentioned. So we'll run through it. Gareth, I'll do a couple and then you can pop in with one or two. The most skillful in the team, Mark, who would be your five-a-side team from your players? You can include yourself in these as well. The most skillful in the squad.
Most skillful, I don't know. I'm going to go between Hughesy or Foley. I'll go Hughesy because he can play. I think he played against us left back last year. He played a couple of games and sort of up front and centre mid. So I'll go Hughesy.
He'll be delighted to hear that. The worst excuse for not turning up to training. Have you heard any crackers yet?
I can't really complain. Like, I only come down on a Thursday. Like, I can't really slate anybody else. But I haven't heard. No, do you know what? I've heard of a few stories before, just sort of before I had signed. But I don't want to be throwing anybody under the bus because I wasn't there for it firsthand.
Feel free to throw. Free.
It's all right. They'll always come out the other side of the bus. You'll be fine. So we're going ahead, Ali.
Yeah, and who would be the funniest in the changing room so far?
McCall's good old crack.
But is he intentionally funny though? Is he meaning to be funny? Or is he just
I don't know. He's funny, but do you know who else? Carvel's funny, but I don't know sometimes when Carvel's giving out, I don't know if he's being serious or if he's trying to get a reaction, that kind of way. And then you look at other players or you look at some of the staff and you can't really grasp off. A lot of people just start shaking their head as if to say, he's funny as well. Like,
it's got to that stage, I think, where people just most stuff that comes out of Dackie's mouth, they just go, just like eye rolling and shaking the head and just this here, and so we're all very much used to it. But we all love him, but he can be a pain in the backside sometimes. I suppose I go for a couple here. Who's the brainiest player that you've obviously in your short time at the club? And again, you can include yourself. I would say, having talked to all of our team, you're probably well up there, to be fair.
Brainiest player, I would say. Do you mean in terms of football or like overall intelligence sort of thing?
Probably overall intelligence. I know it's a small group to maybe choose from, but in that regard, but overall intelligence, I would say.
I think football wise, I think Tucker is he sort of sees the game. He just, even having played against him, he sees things quicker than others. Brainiest player, I'm going to say Engine. I think I would chat to Engine quite a bit, sort of before training and after training, or even after in the change rooms after match days and that. And he talks a lot of sense. Like,
a bit of a teachers' union going on here.
That's a good version of the goalkeepers' union. Who'd be the best at giving? And obviously you can't we can't count Darren or Jervis or Gary Boyle or anything in this, but who'd be the best at giving pep talks? So if the boys need a bit of a rallying, could be off the pitch, the change room, could be on the pitch. Who's the person that would people would tend to turn to amongst the playing staff in that regard?
Well, I suppose from my sort of short experience, I would say Boiler wouldn't talk, and he wouldn't. He's not a slaver, like he's not slavering all the time. But when Boiler talks, sort of everybody tends to listen.
Yeah.
And same would be Andy Coleman as well. Like he's serious experience behind him. And again, when there's my Siri going off. When Andy talks, again, people tend to listen and take on board sort of what those lads are saying.
When he talks after he's had about 10 pints, then he's hard to listen to, trust me. I've experienced that too. The last one in our five side, I mean, Ali, the last one I have anyway, and you might add a couple to it, Mr. Pass the Buck. So who's the person that doesn't take responsibility for anything? I have my own views in this, and I've said it to him, but I'll not say who it is. But so say somebody makes a pass, and it's clearly bugs out of play. You're going, and he's turning around and going, "You didn't make the run." That's the way as a forward, you must get that probably a few times. Like so.
Can you mention someone if you've already mentioned them or not?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to get ripped here. I'm saying maybe Hughesy again. Like,
he's got that a few times.
I don't know. Like, it might be my second game. There was the phones. I had my phone out, but the management hadn't come in yet. I had my phone out, and he was saying it's after 1:30. There's a fine, and then. One day he must have landed about 20. I think he landed. Not how long now. He landed about 20 minutes late. Not a word out of him. Someone says that's a fine. He says I'm not getting fined for that. So in that case, probably easy.
Brilliant. From a football perspective, one is probably just a slightly different one, a more personal one. Who's the toughest defender, toughest centre back you've ever played against? If you can think of one. Or have they all been crap and you've completely turned them inside out?
Who's your man Stevie O'Donnell's been tough. He's tough on Korean. From a physicality perspective, Engine. I always find Engine tough. Playing against him, he was at Newry was he at Newry years ago?
Yeah, he was at Newry before the previous club went under. He was there since 17, and he went to Warren Point and then came back.
But I would say overall, probably your man Sean Ward from the Cruise,
right?
Because he would never really get involved in the physicality. He would have always stepped off and would have come around and sort of pinched around the corner sort of thing. So I would say probably Wardy, aye.
And I mean, is that sort of? Do you like that sort of physical battle? I know he said that. So that was probably why you found it maybe tough because he was.
That probably was it. Yeah.
Interested in it.
Well, it'd probably be fair just to know where they're at, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you sort of have an idea of where you sort of keep the ball. Whereas if you can't feel them, then they could come around and pinch it in front of you and make you look very silly.
Well, just as a striker, when you make the step up from Championship to Premiership and you're playing against those teams like Linfield, what differences do you find in coming up against those centre backs, and does it improve your game? Do you have to be a bit sharper in everything that you do?
I think you have to be. I don't think there's a massive difference, if I'm honest, in terms of quality. I think all the games in Championship are still really, really competitive, and you maybe just have a little bit more control of the ball, and maybe as a team, maybe a few more chances. But you definitely have to be on your game, no matter if it's a game within the Championship League or the Premiership. Maybe slightly in those sort of bigger games against the Linfields and that, where you get very, very little of the ball.
Well, just sort of probably we'll come to the end of the podcast, this week's podcast. If obviously we're sitting in one place at times, and we don't know when football is going to be back again. And I know sort of we've done wee bits and pieces of the clubs for reaching out to supporters and stuff. If you had a very brief message for supporters and anybody listening, if you by all means get it out now.
Well, just look after yourselves, look after your family. Follow the guidelines. What we've been asked to do. Try and keep that mental space in your head. So make sure you get out and, even if it's going for a walk or doing some form of exercise, and hopefully it won't be too long until we're all sort of out again and mixing with each other and having a bit of crack and hopefully down watching Newry winning games at the Showgrounds.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully, Mark, that over the summer then we get your contract and we'll see you again, get a full pre-season and a full season next year and get us back up to the Premiership.
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be great.
And in the meantime, make sure you say hello to Archie Ban from everybody at the club and everybody at the podcast.
Oh, well, surely. I'll pass it on to him. He'll be delighted with that.
And when I say everybody at the podcast, I mean me and Ali. That's it.
Gareth, just before we go as well, we'll just say congratulations to Decky and Niamh Carville on the birth of their son, Caden. I think it was just last week there, so congratulations to those two. Niamh never misses a game. So I texted him and just said congratulations. And just said she can't wait to get the Caden down for his first game at the Showgrounds as soon as this is all over.
Darren, apparently Decky says, Decky texted me and says Darren's already got him signed. And Sparky has already got our vice chairman, has already put £100 on him to score a hat trick on his debut. So there's no pressure on the lad.
No pressure. As long as he doesn't get sent off like his dad, he'll be all right.
If he's a smoker with his dad, we're all in trouble. But yeah, but bit of positive news to end on. Mark, great to hear from you. Look after yourself, and as you said, hopefully we'll see you down at the Showgrounds very soon, and I'm sure we'll be in touch, and we'll see you on Instagram and Twitter and all the rest of it. Listen, brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, mate. Cheers.
Take care.
See you soon.